Hello, I'm Joe Mechavich, Principal Conductor for Kentucky Opera. The second production of the Brown-Forman 2017-2018 season is Jake Heggie and Terrence McNally's Dead Man Walking. This was written in the year 2000. It was Jake Heggie's very first opera. It's been 17 years since this was composed, but it's been produced over 40 times, and this is very important that we're doing this here in Louisville. Now, it's known that everyone knows Dead Man Walking from the movie, right? And if you've read Sister Helen Bergeon's book, you know it even better. And I recommend that you do so, that you read her book, because it is based on her book. But what is this story about? It's the story about a contemporary issue that is very personal to everything that we're experiencing. And it shows both sides, that is the death penalty, from the side of the murder and the victims to the murderer himself. But it really is about this one woman, Sister Helen, and her spiritual journey through this subject and through discovering what this means at a spiritual and human level. Those are the first bars of Dead Man Walking by Jake Heggie. And when we think of contemporary music, people think that it is something that is hard to listen to, difficult to understand musically. But when we're talking about Jake Heggie, who happens to be a friend of mine, I do a lot of his pieces, Moby Dick, Great Scott, Out of the Darkness. You're familiar with his music because we did 3 Decembers here at Kentucky Opera last season. Jake's music has tunes. Jake's music has a language that speaks to us. Something that is accessible, to use that word that's used all the time in this circumstance, that it's accessible to all of us. He can speak to us. But more importantly, this man, Jake Heggie, is a composer of the theater. He knows how to capture the heartbeat of the moment and the heartbeat of a character. And that's what's very special about this man when he's composing these very important works, as you saw in 3 Decembers and you will see in his very first opera, Dead Man Walking. Being a composer of theater, Jake uses standard opera conventions. Now what does that mean? He means he's using a vocabulary and also a process that we as opera consumers can identify with. That means arias, that means duets, that means ensembles, that means choruses. So already there's a structure that's familiar to us when he's writing his pieces. Now there's two kind of styles that he has. There's a lot of, I don't want to say parlando, there are arias for sure, but Jake is about celebrating the human voice. So the sung portions are glorious, but he also is there to make sure the drama is moving forward. When Jake is working on a piece, and I've been in the room with him, he's always asking, what does the audience need to get the point across? What do they need? Sometimes that means the orchestra, the music gets out of the way of the moment. Silence, or a nice light orchestration. There are, as you know when you know the story, there's violence, but there's also a lot of humor. The first musical example here is Joe's mother. Joe J. Roche is the gentleman who's convicted of murder on death row. And under this text, which I'll read to you in 1 second, is this sort of this musicality underneath, the orchestral support. The text here by Joe's mother is, Joe, my Joe, is not a bad boy, not my Joe. There is good there. There is good there too in my Joe. And this is sort of the color and the music underneath this. Very intimate. We've heard these sounds before, so it relates to our ear most definitely. Another example, now throughout this whole piece, this piece of that challenges us, there's a singer-actor I'm very good friends with, his name is Robert Orth, and he says sometimes the audience has to work for art. And this is one of those pieces where you have to, it's work, it's hard to watch this, it's hard to experience this, which we are though gratified through and experiencing it. But Jake always knows what the audience needs, and he has moments of levity throughout this piece. And there's a moment when De Rocher and also Sister Helen Prejean talk about something they have in similar, which is a love for Elvis, for the music of Elvis. And sure enough, you hear, as they start talking about Elvis, a wonderful sound coming out of the orchestra. That's something that we know. The other musical example I gave is also something that relates to the very first thing I played, the opening. So Jake is dealing with themes, with melodies, and they re-recur through this entire piece and really make it cohesive. This is an important American work. It's been produced over, like I said, over 40 times, and a must-see for everyone within the region of Louisville. Joesph Mechavich and my friends at Kentucky Opera would like to thank GIS Piano for the use of this beautiful recital hall to do these wonderful videos for you.